Hello all my fellow musicians, I am the Gamer Musician, and today I'm going to be talking about a big topic in the Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, the bird people, or as I've been calling them, the avians. So after all this time, we have finally been given an official name for this race in the new Famitsu magazine. Now before anything else in this video, spoilers I guess. So yeah, for the other news from this Famitsu, just quick. The Goron is named Darkle, or more literally, Darukeru, which follows the Goron Dar trait. Also, the Zora girl is apparently named Mifa, or Mifa, so that's cool. But anyway, on to the birds. Okay, so here we go. Who are the avians? Well, contrary to the views of me and many of the other Zelda YouTubers, these avians are actually called Rito. So that's a really interesting new fact. And what could confirm the fact that these avian creatures are Rito, beyond literally being told that Falco, Rebel, is a member of the Rito tribe. So, what is my response to being told that this race is the Rito? Simple. This race is not the Rito. Well, not in the sense as we know them. Now, first off, I have an interesting discovery I made while I was writing this script. A lot of people like to notice that the etymology of the word Rito is created using the wordplay on the Japanese word tori. Basically, they take the words 2 syllables and swap them. So tori to Rito. And wouldn't you guess it, tori is the Japanese word for bird. And while I agree with this thought process, I also have another concept to bring to the table. Without their wings, the Rito are practically just beaked feathered Zora. And have any of you noticed how they get their wings? That's right, a rite. They must go through with the great dragon Valu. And wouldn't you know it, Rito is actually the Italian and Spanish word for rite, as in ritual, which is a crazy thought. To put this much thought into a name, which at its face value could honestly just be a pun, since Rito sounds like Ruto, the most prominent Zora in Ocarina of Time. Okay, but putting what I just went over into practice, it makes a lot of sense. The Rito are a race of avian beings who are required to go through an important ritual to fully awaken. But does that mean the Rito in Breath of the Wild are the same? Well, maybe, but there's a couple of interesting things to talk about. The Rito in Wind Waker are literally the evolution of the Zora, who became land creatures as the post-Great Flood sea was practically devoid of fish, and the Zora were also under constant attack by monsters. So, if the Rito literally are the evolution of, and physical replacement of, the Zora, then explain this. Or this. Which is why I feel that the likelihood of the Breath of the Wild Rito being the Wind Waker Rito is slim. Actually, for the sake of this video, let's just call them the Flood Rito for Wind Waker and, Falco Rito.
Piece of cake.
Nah, I'll just call them the Ruin Rito, since Breath of the Wild's Hyrule is in ruins. Now, beyond the whole existing simultaneously to the Zora thing, there's also one other big difference between the Flood and Ruin Rito. While the Flood Rito are avian humanoids, or in other words humans with some bird-like features, the Ruin Rito are more like humanoid avians, or in other words birds with some human characteristics. You can tell the differences almost immediately by looking at them. For example, the Flood Rito have an actual mouth, while the Ruin Rito, like Falco and Cass, do not. In fact, we actually even see Cass opening his beak to talk. And unlike the Flood Rito, the Ruin Rito actually have talons for feet. There's a number of other little differences in biology as well, such as the Flood Rito still having arms as well as wings. Anyway, there's enough differences to note them as differences, okay? So what, I can hear you asking, is my theory? Well, it's simple. They're not the same race. I can conclude that perhaps they appear at a different point in the timeline, perhaps after the flood is gone, or perhaps before, or perhaps even in a completely different timeline, where the Flood Rito never existed, and their name was a complete coincidence. This isn't too far-fetched, considering the root words. What the Ruin Rito are is simply a bird-like race, with some form of ritual involved in their culture. So, while there are a number of similarities to the Flood Rito, they could very well be different. And before you say anything, the Zora, which at the very least the Flood Rito evolved from, had 2 different races, the River Zora and the Sea Zora, so who really knows with the Rito? Anyway, that's about all I have for you guys today, so I hope I was able to clear up some of my thoughts about the Rito in Breath of the Wild. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, remember to leave a like, a comment, or even share the video. And as always, don't forget to subscribe to me for some more video game music themed videos from the Gamer Musician.